it is possible. I would say defer your loans. If you have loans that can be deferred without accruing any late fees, I would highly recommend that you defer your loans for now, and whatever income that you're generating, save. So 80-20 means that you live off of 80% of your income. 10% either goes to your tithes or to your what's it called when you give to people?
Donations?
Yeah, to your donations. And then 10% goes to your savings. You just need to do what works best for you at the end of the day in your financial situation. There are people who just cannot save a lot, and there's people that have really minimum to no debt and to no financial obligations where they can save a whole ton. So it all just depends on your situation and what you're going through. And now currently in our journey, we are saving for a house. We did make the decision after evaluating our finances and doing our taxes that we are paying a lot for rent. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Nicole and I'm so happy you clicked on this video. For those of you guys who are new to my channel, I am a public accountant and I talk about my public accounting journey, and I also share bits and pieces of my life with you guys. I do lifestyle videos and vlogs here and there. So if you are interested in that kind of content, make sure you click that subscribe button, and also don't forget to go ahead and turn on your notification bell so that you are notified every time I upload a video. Alright guys, so a lot of you guys have been asking me to do a video on budgeting and saving. So I thought that this will be the perfect opportunity to do that, especially with everything going on worldwide right now. We're not gonna mention the name. Just quick background about me and my financial journey. I am still not where I want to be. I am still progressing in my financial journey. However, I have learned a few things over the years, especially from my senior year of college, which was back in 2016-2017 school year, up until now, which is 2020. So my senior year of college, well, that in between my junior and senior year, that summer, well, that year, I guess, I did have a internship. I had 2 internships, one for a mid-tier firm in the spring semester of 2016, and then in the summer of 2016 I did have an internship with one of the big 4 public accounting firms. So at the time, I was a 21-year-old who just started off making decent money, especially, like I tell you guys all the time, as an intern, you are making hourly, so you end up making way more actually than some of the staff and even some of the seniors that you're working with, because you're getting paid hourly. So therefore, you make time and a half and you're making a bunch of money. And with that journey, I ended up taking my internship, my spring internship, because at the time I could not afford to pay for school. So I had to figure out a way of how I could still go to school and also find a way to save money without losing my status as a student. And with that internship, I was able to take classes online. So I took my elective courses, and my scholarships did help with that because I wasn't taking as many credits. And it also gave me the financial stability to have the internship and save. So throughout my internship from January through August, my 2 internships, I did save a good amount of money, and that amount went towards purchasing my car. So from January through April, I saved as much as I could from my internship. I was fortunate enough to live with a family friend in the DC area, so I did not have to pay rent. I just had to help with anything that I could around the house with bills. So a good chunk of my money, I was putting it in savings because I knew that I needed to get a new car. And so in May of that year of 2016, I did purchase my very first car, which is the car that I have until today. And I am financing my vehicle. However, because I was able to save a lot, I was able to put down a good down payment on my car note. And I was able to have enough money to pay the insurance and things of the sort, and the car payments as well. And then in the summertime, because I knew that I had a car note that I had to keep paying, and when I would go back to school, I would be working, but obviously I wouldn't be making as much as I was making. So a good chunk of what I worked in the summer, in the 3 months in my internship, I saved it so that I could be able to pay my car note off throughout my entire senior year of college, and then to help me with any other thing. But pretty much everything that I worked during my internship went towards my car. It was car insurance, my car note, and anything that could have came up for my car. And also during my second internship, I was in Houston, so I did have to pay rent. I took the route of not having fun like the rest of my classmates and the rest of the people I interned with, and I just lived as frugally as possible and saved my money. So that way, during my senior year, I did not have to struggle as much with scraping up cash to pay for rent and pay for my car note. So the next thing that I ended up having to save for was my wedding. So I did get married in the winter of 2018, and my husband and I did have to save and live very frugally so that we could afford our wedding. Yes, our parents and family members did pitch in to help us, but we did have to pay for a good chunk of our wedding, and there were just things that came up that we had to take care of because at the end of the day, it was our wedding. In 2017, when I graduated from college, my husband was still in school, and at the time, I was not ready to start working at my public accounting firm yet, so I did defer my start date. And at the time, I was just working as a babe, what was I doing again at the church? No, before, at the church. Was I like a secretary? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. I was working as a secretary for a church back in Lubbock, Texas. And obviously, I wasn't getting paid a lot of money. For some reason in Lubbock, I don't know, all of the accounting jobs that I did qualify for due to my experience, they weren't willing to pay me what I should have been making, and therefore that ultimately deterred them from giving me the offer, and I kind of had to settle on a job. And I'm thankful for the job that I did get working as a secretary for that church. It was really helpful because it was a time that I could focus on finishing my classes for my CPA. But at the time, I was making like $14, $15 an hour, and my husband was in school full time, and he was working on campus, but we were not bringing in that much income. So most of the income that we had did go towards paying our car, living expenses, and trying to save for our wedding. So in the process of saving for our wedding, what I would do is I would save chunks at a time to be able to purchase things that I needed, such as flowers and different decorations, to be able to pay deposits for our venue and things of the sort. And once again, I just say I thank both of our families because they did pitch in to help us. But like I said, we did have to save, and we were making like minimum wage. And then towards the end of that journey, prior to me starting off in public accounting, I did get a job working in IT for a hospital in Lubbock, Texas, which I was generating a bit more income. So that also did help when it came for saving towards our wedding. And then I ended up going to work for the public accounting firm, one of the big four in Houston, Texas, and that definitely helped. My first month of working, I lived with a friend, and I lived with a friend just so that I could save before it was time for us to find a place, since that was roughly around August, because obviously in December my husband would have graduated college, we would have gotten married, and we would have been living together. So I lived with my friend for a month, and that helped me save a good chunk. I think I was able to save my first 2 to 3 paychecks. I was able to save it, and that helped us get a place to stay and pay the deposit and all the application fees when you're renting and things like that. So that was those have been the 2 main things that I have saved for. And now currently in our journey, we are saving for a house. We did make the decision after evaluating our finances and doing our taxes that we are paying a lot for rent, and we're getting to that point where we are ready to begin investing in real estate and in properties. So we are working towards purchasing our first home. So we're aggressively saving now. So with that, we started off doing the Dave Ramsey book. We started off by doing his Financial Peace University. We have the book, and I don't even remember what baby step we're on, but yeah, what baby step are we on?
4.
We're on baby step 4. Yeah, so we're on baby step number 4 with that. And we have, obviously, with having 2 incomes, it has helped us save. It has helped us to just be able to budget better and be able to afford the lifestyle that we do want for ourselves. Everyone is different. Everybody chooses to spend their money on different things. However, with both of our incomes coming in, we're able to just save as much as we can, because we know that our goal is to be financially stable. And also, my husband is debt free. My husband has no debt. I am the one with the debt, and I just thank God that I don't have as much debt as other people do. I still have debt, obviously, but my student loans and my car note and like medical bills here and there are all under a certain threshold, which we have a plan to actively knock down my debt. So with that being said, what we did in December, we were evaluating our finances, and obviously we decided that we do want to work towards purchasing a home. So we sat down with my brother and his wife, who have also gone on the journey, who they've previously purchased a home, and they've been going on a debt-free journey as well. So they gave us some tips on how we can actively save our money, how we should be budgeting, especially as a couple. But I feel like this does apply if you are a single person as well. So yeah, and you guys know the story, the more you make, the more they take. So that also comes into play with taxes and things like that. But I am going to be showing you guys the spreadsheet that we use for budgeting. So once a month, usually at the end of the month, or right before going into the beginning of the new month, my husband and I sit together and we analyze our finances. We go through the spreadsheet and look at what we budgeted versus what we actually spend, so that we can make any adjustments for the following month. And we also go through our checking account. We go through each transaction and kind of just ask each other, okay, this transaction was for this was for this. And that's been helpful, because we did have an incident, babe, when was it? Last month? 2 months ago?
What are you talking about?
With the Amazon thing. We had an incident either last month or a few months ago, where by us doing that, we were able to see that someone had actually gotten my husband's bank card information. So transactions were going on of like $20 here, $50 there, that we had no idea about. And there was a subscription apparently that person had gotten, that so we were paying for a subscription for a few months that we had not even known about. So by us going through each transaction in our bank account, it really made us aware of what we're spending on, where we need to cut back on spending, and being able to see if somebody did get our bank account information. We ended up having to cancel both of our bank cards and get new bank cards, and luckily we bank with a good bank that was able to trace all of the stuff. And now I am going to just talk about how you should be allocating your salary, and I'm also going to show you guys the spreadsheet that we use. So guys, I know a lot of people say that you should do the 70, what is it, like the 70-30 or 80-20 rule, like 80-10-10. However, I just say there is no one correct way to do it. You just need to do what works best for you. You just need to do what works best for you at the end of the day and your financial situation. There are people who just cannot save a lot, and there's people that have really minimum to no debt and to no financial obligations where they can save a whole ton. So it all just depends on your situation, what you're going through. So let me talk about the 80-20, because that's the one that I'm most familiar about. So 80-20 means that you live off of 80% of your income. 10% either goes to your tithes or to your what's it called when you give to people?
Donations?
Yeah, to your donation. And then 10% goes to your savings. So that means if you make $5,000 a month, of the $5,000, you are going to take $500 and put that towards your saving. And then you're also going to take that $500 and give, whether it be to your church or to a charity of some sort. And then that means that you have $4,000 left, which you're going to live off of. And that $4,000, and out of that $4,000, that's when you're going to take out your rent, you're going to take out your electrical, your utility bills, you're going to take out your groceries, your car note or car payment, you're going to take out your car insurance, and then whatever you have left, you decide what you're going to do with that as well. Typically, but when it comes to like your rent or your mortgage, your that amount should be way less, obviously, than what you make. I think it should be anywhere between 10 to 30%. It should not be 50% of your salary. So if you are making $5,000 a month, you should not be paying rent or mortgage of $2,500. Your rent should be way less than that, okay? And even if you're single, and obviously even if it's in a collective household, if you have two incomes, you shouldn't be paying that much for rent unless you live in a super expensive city where pay is higher. Okay, that is typically how you should allocate your funds. And then when it comes to savings, similar to the Dave Ramsey method, which is something that we have applied, you need to have an emergency savings. And usually everyone says that your emergency savings should be $1,000. That is very true. However, I don't think that that's an emergency savings. That is definitely a great place to start, so that if you have any problems with your car, or something goes wrong in your home, or you need to purchase something that is an emergency comes about, like let's say you get a flat tire, or you need to get a towing company, something of the nature, then you do have that money to rely on. However, you should definitely save more than that in an emergency savings. I would say at least $2,000. And then, so you have that emergency savings that you do not touch unless it is an absolute dire emergency. That's when you go ahead and touch that amount. And then you have your other savings where you save 6 months of your living costs. So if your rent is $1,000 a month, you need to have $6,000 saved. And then let's say if your bills in total If your bills in total add up to $1,000 a month, then you need to have $6,000 saved, which means that's your cushion money. So in case you lose your job, in case you have to go on unemployment, in case you get ill, or in case something or another happens, you have that amount that you can rely on. Okay. So now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, is that attainable? Yes, it is, and no, it is not. I've been in a situation where at one point that was not attainable, that was not realistic. I was not able to save 6 months of living. 3 months maybe, but 6 whole months saving in today's world, that is just crazy. But it is doable. You just need to have discipline, and that's where a lot of people have multiple sources of income. If I'm making a certain amount, and then like if I'm making a certain amount but I'm living off of a certain amount, how the heck am I gonna save $6,000? Huh? And you just don't know. Like you just don't know the day of tomorrow. You might just start a brand new job today where they're paying good, and you decide, okay, I can afford to go live on my own, and you're locked into rent, and then all of a sudden you lose your job, and how are you going to afford to pay your rent, you know? So in certain situations that's attainable, and in other situations I know that it is not. Which is where multiple sources of income come into play, because when you have multiple sources of income, that means you have more that you are pulling together, so that way you can have that cushion and the emergency savings as well, and still be able to live a okay or frugal lifestyle. So for example, let's say that you have a day job. You have a day job in an office somewhere, or you work as an accountant, but then you have time on the weekends, or you have time in the evenings. You could do Uber. I know a lot of people who had day jobs, but in the evening time they did Uber, whether it was Uber Eats or they drove Uber, did delivery services, just because that amount, whatever that they were making from that second stream of income, they were able to put that in their savings, or they were able to use that amount to go ahead and pay off debt. There was a point in time where I was having 2-3 streams of income, just so that I could be able to afford and pay things off and not be struggling and relying on one source. There was a point in time in college where I had 3 jobs. I worked at the international students office, I worked in the accounting department office as a student assistant, and I was a tutor as well. So, and I did Uber for a while in college as well. During football season, I did Uber because during football season it was high time, so there was more money to be made with Uber, because people are going to tailgates, people are going to the game, and so the prices would surge highly, and that was a perfect time for me as a college student to make money. I think there was one night where I ended up banking in like, I think $200, if I'm not mistaken, on Uber, just from driving from the morning until the evening time. So yeah, I highly recommend multiple sources of income. You could be a tutor. I know like people are looking for English tutors, like to teach children in overseas. You could do that. You could deliver groceries. You could become a social media influencer. Even though income from that, you really need to be patient to let that come. But if you want quicker ways of income, you could do that. You could work at a store part-time, maybe seasonal. You could be a seasonal employee at a store, because you guys know around Christmas time, when it's seasonal, that's when people are spending most. So maybe from like October through January, you can get some extra income by working at a store. So that is my spiel on multiple sources of income. And if you're a couple like myself, if you're married or anything like that, you guys just sit down and talk about your finances. Like for us, we decided that we are going on a debt-free journey. We started our debt-free journey. What we've been doing is we've been living off of one person's income, and then the other person's income is completely going towards knocking down debt. And thanks to my brother and his wife, that has definitely been such a help to us. with being able to do that, and with budgeting, which I'm going to show you guys the spreadsheet. With budgeting, we were able to see that we live very comfortably with just one person's income, and we're still able to save and meet our savings goal every month with just one person's income, and then the other person's income is going towards actively getting rid of debt. And some people do the snowball effect, which you guys can look it up. I'm not really going to touch on it, but what we've been doing is, like, for us, we're trying to get rid of our car debt, because we know that when it's time for us to apply for a house, they look at that more heavily than they would look at my student loans, right? So we have a goal that by a certain time this year, we need to finish paying off my car, so that way I can have a higher credit score, and also it'll be easier when it's time to apply for a house. And obviously, once I'm done paying off my car, the next step is to keep actively paying down my student loans as much as I can, and just not letting interest continue to accrue. Let me go ahead and show you guys the spreadsheet right now. If you are in college, if you're in college and you have student loan debt, do not be like some of us. Pay off your debt while you're in school. So I wish I knew this when I was in school. First of all, if I knew about half of these loans, I probably wouldn't have even gotten it. I would have just opted for paying for school as I went. It would have taken me longer, but I would have preferred to go to school completely debt-free. But if you are not fortunate enough to get scholarships like many of us out there that'll pay for 100% of your schooling, each year that you are getting these student loans, whether it be subsidized or unsubsidized, I would go ahead and pay it. So if, let's say that you get a loan, on your financial aid package for $2,000, what you should do, if you get a refund on that money, take your refund, and if you can, take your refund and pay your loan back right away. If you can't and you need that refund, obviously, to pay for books or for your living essentials, that's perfectly okay. But if you have a job in college, even if it's like $30 a month, take $30 and start paying off your debt. So that way, when you graduate, you have less that you're going to pay. I wish that I knew that while I was in college, because I could have literally paid half of my student loans already at that point. Like, by the time I would have graduated from college, I would have had little to no interest, and I would have paid back a good part of my student loans. So if you are currently in college and you are in the student loan situation, make sure that you are paying it off. Even if it's like $30, $20, make sure you're just paying it off, so that way it can help you when you graduate have less debt. So with the budget Excel template that we have, the first page is a year summary. It shows our entire year, and in each month, as we fill it in, is going to be, we have the tabs for the separate months, but each time we fill it in monthly, it's going to pull into this main overall tab for the year. You're gonna put in your income, however much your income is, that comes in per pay period. That's what you're going to put in, and then from that, you're going to put in how much your expenses are per week. So you split the expenses per week. So typically week 1 is going to be the beginning of the month, or the end of the previous month, beginning of the new month, which is typically when, so you're gonna put down your rent, however much you budget or you plan on spending on groceries, your utility bills, however much that usually comes to, internet, cable, etc. And then you're gonna go ahead and put in like your car payment. Everything is there. So let's say that your car payment is due on that's where you will allocate that in the budget. So you will just go ahead and put everything that you spend in terms of expenses there, and then there is a section for your giving and your savings. So like here, we are Christians, so we do pay our tithes and offerings to church, so we have a section for that. We have a section for what we're going to put in emergency, and then what we're going to put in our savings. And typically the best advice for the savings is like whatever's left after all of your expenses account. So that's what we have. And if you have any credit card debt you have, any student loans that you're paying off, you would include that in your expense as well. So that is the budgeted tab. And then you have your actual tab. And what we do is each week as we're spending, I go ahead and I update the actual. So for example, as soon as we pay off our rent, I go ahead and insert that in the Excel spreadsheet. When we go to the grocery store, I also make sure that I put whatever was on the receipt, I put it in the grocery tab. So if week 1 we went to the grocery store 3 times, then I will go ahead and keep updating that number. I would do like, okay, if one day we spend $100 and the next day we had to run out for like produce and we spent like $50, I'll do like 100 plus 50. And then on the next column, you can kind of see the trend as to what you're spending on. So yeah, that's what we do. So then at the end of the month, prior to starting our new month, we can see what we originally budgeted for versus how much we actually ended up spending. So that way, if need be, we can make adjustments for the following month. So like, for example, if I have a budget for myself for $100 to go shopping, and then I go over my budget and I spend $150, that means that the following month, that $100 budget that I have, I can't use it. I can only use $50 because I already went over the previous month. So it's pretty easy, straightforward, and then at the end of it all, you can see month to month what you're spending on. And then in terms of like debt, like if you have loans, student loans or whatever it may be, that you can also track that by checking what is the balance each month and putting that in there and seeing how much you've paid off versus how much is left. So that is pretty much it in terms of budgeting. And oh, I will say this right now, we hear everybody talking about paying off your debt, but right now, if it is possible, I would say defer your loans. If you have loans that can be deferred without accruing any late fees, I would highly recommend that you defer your loans for now, and whatever income that you're generating, save. We decided to do that. Like I said, we're trying to pay off my car loan. Like the lenders did send an email saying that you can defer your payments up to 120 days without any penalties, without any charges or anything like that. So if your lender does give you that option, take advantage of it. That doesn't mean that you're not going to pay. However, that just means it gives you cushion to save aggressively, so that when those 120 days are up, you can go back to actively paying it, and you'll even have a chunk of money. You'll even have a lump sum of money that you can just do a one-time payment on your debt, whatever it may be. So if you are on a journey towards your like financial freedom, definitely keep going, but I would say just pay your, not necessarily your minimum payment, but don't feel like you need to like pay super aggressively just for now, because of everything's that's going on and potential of economic hardship coming up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next video. Your money. I know a lot of people say the 70-30.
Go.
I know a lot of people say do like 70-30 or the...
Oh, sorry.
Oh my god, babe, you're hilarious. Boss.
Gravar.
Gravando. Olá pessoal, tudo bem? Olá pessoal, tudo bem? É assim, como se diz? Olá pessoal.
Use your voice. As long as you don't speak the way you talk when you're talking to my dad.
How do I speak with your dad? Oh, like when I'm all cute or whatever. Anyway.